Much love, much love, much love. It's Luke Miller here from potentialforchange.com. Big massive thank you for coming on to watch this video. I've just putting together the final touches on my numerology course, which I'm going to be running on the 11th of June 2018, because it's a very, very strong, significant date. There's more about this in a moment, but for now I just wanted to explain a bit of my backstory of how I got into numerology and you know, how it become such a big part of my life, which is really, really quite a strange, weird story. It's like probably the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. Well, it might not be, actually it might not be the weirdest thing, because like some pretty weird stuff's happened, but it's I guess it's the most practical thing, you know, and the most you know, interesting thing that's kind of happened to me. And it's funny because I was going through the journal, because I journaled after, and in the journal my intention for the experience that I went into was to find my life purpose, and I didn't realise that until I just checked my journal to jog my memory of all the stuff that happened. So in 2016, in November, I had some crazy synchronistic stuff unfold, like really kind of like weird synchronicities leading me towards the Amazon rainforest and in Peru. And you know, it was a few years of like synchronistic events, dreams, and just all round like weird stuff happening that kind of led me in the direction of going to Peru. And eventually, on a couple of weeks' notice, I managed to, someone pulled out of an excursion to the jungle. I ended up taking that place, and I was packed off to the Peruvian jungle to go and drink a visionary brew, which is called Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is something, people call it a psychedelic, and it does have psychedelic effects. You know, it contains like DMT, which is very like geometric and crazy when it's had in other forms and also in this form. But for me, it's more like a portal, you know, and I wouldn't necessarily label it in the same category as other like psychedelics, you know. But I went to the Peruvian jungle. There was like, it was complete and utter silence from the external world. It was like a few kilometers into the jungle, and like no Wi-Fi, no internet, no anything. And there was 5 ayahuasca ceremonies over a 10-day period, and it was held with a local shaman that I know and a Peruvian shaman. So I was reading through my notes, as I said a moment ago, and what I remember happening in this, it was the very first ceremony. So, you know, I'd had like this big build-up getting to Peru, and you know, eventually I got to sit down in this ceremony, you know, like you think it was like 2 years in the making, and I just was like full, like I felt really kind of high before I even drunk the brew. I was very much like, you know, just in this state of, I don't even know what kind of state you would say, you know, like this trance-like state. It was like before I even drunk. So eventually we went up, drunk the ayahuasca, which is the most vile tasting thing you will ever taste in your life. Seriously, it is disgusting. I don't think you ever get used to that taste. Even the thought of it makes me shudder, you know. It's called that, I think you would call it the ayahuasca shudder. Like a lot of people you know, who drink it, when you mention the taste of it, they go and have a little shudder. And yeah, so I drunk the brew, and I started to have like these real kind of intense journey, you know, like a visionary journey through like what I would say was like the underworld, you know. It was like a world underneath, you know, like it was like deep, and it was quite dark, you know, and it was like really kind of mysterious and magical. And I remember part of this journey, I remember seeing a box. It was like a square box, you know, like a 3D square box that was just like really magical and colourful. And I I put my head into this box, and when I put my head into this box, I saw like every colour that you can imagine, all the colours of the rainbow, like colours that are not even from this dimension, you know, like it was just like this intense feeling which you can't really explain with words, you know, I can't do it justice what this feeling was. And it was like almost as if time stopped, you know, and everything stopped. Also, if I stopped breathing, everything was just like in this like immense feeling of like this overwhelming feeling of something significant happening. And then when I pulled my head out of this box, I remember asking, because it's insane what ayahuasca, what you can actually do. Like, you can ask questions and things, and often you get answers, you know. You don't always get the right answer, you know, and like you can also like misinterpret things, but at that time I was like, what was that, you know? I was like, what is this? And I remember seeing the word ucho, you know, and at the time I thought like ucho might have been a plant, or might have been a teacher, might have been a person, might have been something. I didn't really know what it was, but I later found out that ucho is a tribe in Mexico. But also, you know, I don't know what the word actually means, you know. I haven't like really like researched into it. The plan is to go and see the tribe at some point, and I'm sure like things will unfold even further, you know, when that happens. But for now, it's like that the fact that when I spoke to someone about it, you know, when I spoke to the shaman and I was like, what's ucho, all this kind of stuff, you know, that it was actually a real thing was kind of like, whoa, okay, so I'm having these visions, I'm finding like things that, you know, I didn't even know existed, and like it's leading me into a different direction. But the thing that happened after that was the weird trippy thing, you know, was the fact that I started to interpret numbers, you know. I saw numbers as more than just numbers. Like, you know, instead of I always had a little bit of a fascination for numbers and was seeing a lot of synchronistic number patterns, but I didn't like look into it. I hadn't like researched numbers. I didn't know about numerology as a subject. But, you know, from that moment onwards, it was not just a number, it was like one thing, you know. It's like the self, or, you know, like the start of something new, you know, like all these things could be represented by one, and it just kind of made sense, you know. And two is like duality, or, you know, a relationship, because it's between two people, you know. And like these things are very obvious, you know, when you think about it. That's why I think it's a very, very simple language, but something either was gifted to me or unlocked within me that allowed me to see this, you know. If you go to 3, it's like, you know, a family, man, woman, child, you know. 4 is like things outside of that, you know, or the 4 elements, or, you know, just anything that's represented by the number 4. And it's from that moment I started to see numbers as more than just numbers. And I actually, on the way back from the jungle, I ended up giving one of the people who was with me a reading, which was really interesting, because I just like learned, and I kind of figured out a way to give a reading, you know, and the reading was very accurate. And then from there I gave more people readings, and just started to look into like longer numbers, and everything can kind of be worked out, you know. If for me personally, if I spend enough time looking at a sequence of numbers or something, eventually it makes sense, you know. So it's really interesting, because it's something that I'm very much still learning about, you know, but it's almost like I'm learning through myself, you know. It's like I'll think of the number 1, you know, and if I spend enough time meditating on the number 1, like just a few days ago, you know, I was getting more information about what number 1 means, you know, like things that to me now seem very obvious, and it's like, you know, why didn't I think of that at the time, you know, like a 1 could be like a lone wolf, or a lone warrior, or a fiercely independent person, you know, things like that, you know. And it's kind of like, oh, why didn't I think of that before, you know. But as time has gone on and on, it just seems to keep going and going, you know, which is very, very interesting. So as I mentioned a little while ago, I'm going to be running this workshop On the 11th of June, I'm going into Vipassana in a few days, which is a 10-day silent meditation. So I just wanted to give people a heads up before. I've got some of the workshop written up, but there's a page which you can find below this video, in which you can sign up now, and you'll get more information about it. You know, I'm really hyped and excited about doing it, because, you know, it's, I've found sometimes I get a little bit of writer's block, you know, because I'm a writer for my job, but when it comes to writing about numbers, it just seems to flow so naturally, you know. So it's kind of like, it's been really exciting to just put this out there and start writing and sharing. And the more I seem to write, the more the presentation seems to grow and build. So I'm super hyped. I'm super excited. You know, it's really something that I'm looking forward to putting together. You can find out all the details by clicking the link. If there's any questions or anything you want to ask me, feel free to go right ahead and shoot. And thanks for joining me in my bedroom. This is like you know, kind of intimate. You've got my book collection here. Got my artwork everywhere. I hope I don't have anything weird in my room, but got my little book collection going on here, and my tarot cards, and my little altar, and it's really nice to be able to have you all here and sharing this time and space with me. So yeah, check out the link below, and if you have any questions, shoot away. I hope whatever you're doing, you have the most beautiful day ever. Much peace and love. I will speak to you very soon.